We are going to discuss hearing conservation today and how to implement it, and the steps and the process it takes to implement a hearing conservation program and why, of course, why you need one. All right. So, again, my name is Jesse with ROI Safety Services. This is a free overview of our weekly training that we provide every Friday at 10 a.m. We do various topics. And this particular week, we're doing hearing conservation. So let's get started. So we do follow the OSHA guidelines in terms of how we present. This is not going to be a site or a specific training delivery or a program that we're going to present. We're just going to go over, as a business owner or as a manager, what you need to know and how to implement that into your specific work environment, whether you're in manufacturing, construction, aerospace, whatever the case may be. This does apply to you, okay? It doesn't matter what state you're in. So all of this applies to anybody who has a manufacturing company, aerospace, and various other types of industries. So we will get started. There are some exemptions, but we're not going to get into those. So hearing loss, we all experience hearing loss over time. Typically it is a chronic exposure. But can you imagine not being able to, hear music or hear any kinds of sounds? And I think, gradually we all lose some hearing over time, depending on, some of our hobbies that we have and of course the working environment that we're in. It will it will get worse over time. And so the goal of a hearing conservation is is to identify areas that you have hearing or noise that is over 80 decibels, and we want to identify those areas. How do we do that? And implementing a hearing conservation program. So, how we hear? Well, we hear by sound waves. They enter our ear canal. The eardrum vibrations pass along tiny bones, and tiny hair-like cells flow back and forth. And the auditory nerves send signals that are registered as sound to our brain. This is how we hear things and what we want to protect. So hearing ability consists of delicate parts. Hair-like cells are flattened. And how or you do not get used to the noise, you gradually lose your hearing. So it doesn't adapt to the environment, it just gets damaged. And once hearing is damaged, it cannot be repaired. This is what's scary about hearing. I'm sure we've all been to concerts. I know I have been to quite a few different concerts where, walking out and going to my car, it really feels like, wow, man, I can't hear anything. This is really crazy. And of course, it slowly recovers because it's not permanent damage. Now, once you get permanent damage, it can't be repaired, and that's what's scary. So, some signs of hearing loss is just difficulty hearing people speak, the inability to hear certain high pitch or a soft pitch, in ringing in the ears. Of course, that is common. I get that from time to time, but when you're getting it often, I mean, you really need to take a look at what's happening in your particular environment. Did you start a new job? Are you listening to earbuds too loud? Which, of course, everybody's using earbuds these days, which is really scary because it does, or it could impact your hearing in a negative way. And then getting complaints that the radio or the TV is just too high. These are all, signs of hearing loss. Okay, we need to pay attention to those symptoms. And then the types of noise that we are exposed to, the different pitches and frequencies and the loudness. A whisper is about 10 decibels. Street sound about 70. A sander is about 85. And 70 to 80 is where it kind of gets annoying. And then, of course, a sporting event all the way to a concert in a gun range. I mean, all that is, even going to the airport can be quite loud. I know, especially when you get into the 120 or even over 100, it can get really annoying, especially at a gun range where you are up into the 130s, and that could be very painful. And so, does noise impact the workplace? Absolutely. It is one of the areas that I think is so commonly overlooked. I was in a shop the other day, a new company, of course, a new startup, and they had no idea, and they didn't even consider the noise level, and it was pretty loud. I would say it was probably in the 80s and 90s at times when the equipment was all running, and this company just didn't even realize what it does because everybody had earbuds in. Are earbuds a good way to protect your hearing? Absolutely not. Zero. You do not want to use earbuds as a form of protecting your ears. So that is something that it is tough to get through to some employers. They don't they like letting employees listen to music, but when you're in a very high noise environment, you gotta take care of your people, even if they don't like it. So, does it impact the workplace? 100%. It causes fatigue, and I can tell you firsthand, it causes irritation and irritableness. So when you're in an environment that's constantly noisy and you're trying to raise your voice and yell and hey, I need this or I need that, and people can't hear you, it's just very inefficient. So it's very distracting. And so we want to make sure that we can hear each other. And of course, in an emergency, if we had to evacuate. And then what if you misunderstand something? What if somebody says one thing and you understand it as another thing, and because you can't hear, that could cause a problem for your customer. Owners, managers, listen to this. Listen to this. This is where it affects your bottom dollar, your bottom line is having a miscommunication. And of course, if you have hearing protection in, that's going to also impact that as well. So we need to look into ways to better communicate in these kinds of environments. So hearing conservation, we want to, look at the noise in the hearing and look at the program and how it will impact. So we definitely want to do some monitoring. So step one is we got to look at the areas that we suspect has a high noise frequency. And it's easy to do. You just go get a dosimeter. I don't recommend going to Home Depot or using your iPhone and getting one of those cheap ones, although the iPhone has an app on here that's pretty good, but you don't want to do a study using that. Okay, you want to get a calibrated dosimeter, and you could rent one. Of course, you could hire ROI to come out and do it, but this is something that must be done, and you want to look at that. You want to do some long-term 8-hour time-weighted average sampling. Okay, and then affected employees. Each employee is exposed to noise over 8 hours of an 85 decibel must be notified. So they must be notified in writing, and affected employees must be included in the hearing conservation program. So what does that mean to you as a business owner or manager? This is where the work comes in. You got to do audiometric testing. You got to have a qualified medical provider do baseline sampling or testing, and then annual testing. And this is where it gets a bit burdensome, is you have what's called a standard threshold shift. Over time, our hearing will reduce, but we need to have that baseline. And this is where the employer must enforce the hearing protection program. We're all going to lose our hearing over time, but we have to, as an employer, make sure that we implement this program to make sure that each employee is wearing hearing protection, or whatever the case may be, whatever you're choosing to implement, so that it will protect you in the long run, because over time they will lose their hearing, and if they can prove that it was because of working at your location, they can absolutely sue you and call OSHA and do all kinds of fun stuff that we do not want them to do. So implementing a program is key, but we also need to enforce it. And then once we enforce it, or once we implement it, we got to enforce it, and then there's all these other requirements, which I'm not going to go into too much detail because that's what we're not here to do that. We're here to give you an idea of, okay, if you have anything over 80 decibels, even 75, you're getting kind of close. You want to start taking a look at engineering controls and then administrative controls. And again, you got to do some sampling first to see if you're over that threshold. Either way, if you're under, then cool. I would check it every year just to make sure you're okay. Things change, equipment wears out, the noise can elevate, and we want to, anytime you add a new machine into your production area, noise can go up. So checking it regularly. If you are above it, you have a lot of things that you can do. You can do your engineering controls, administrative controls, but you got to do something. You just can't put on earplugs and say good luck, hopefully it doesn't damage your hearing. You can't do that. There's more to this than just doing that. Offering hearing protection is one piece of the pie, and it's a very small one. And if you're not doing it properly, if you're not training how to put in the hearing protection or how to wear it safely, then it doesn't matter. You're doing it in vain. So there's a program that needs to be implemented. There's medical evaluations that need to be done. There's sampling that needs to be done, and then there needs to be training. So this is a pretty big process or a pretty big program. It's just not, give them some hearing protection and good luck. So again, we're not going to go into this detail. I'm going to give you guys an understanding of hey, this could be a problem. This is how we manage it. This is how we get it done. So you will definitely need to figure out how to reduce that noise. ROI can help you with this, but it's not something that we're going to go over today. But there's a process of doing this. So sampling, if you're above the level, you got to implement an entire program. Your responsibility as a manager or a business owner is to provide hearing protection, to train them, to demonstrate commitment to them, enforcing the requirements. And it needs to be ongoing. This is the problem, owners and managers. If you don't do this, 3, 5, 6 years from now, they will come back and sue you because they will inevitably have some sort of hearing damage. So be careful with it. This is the one area, one program that over the last 3 decades managing these types of programs is one of those low-lying fruit programs where, hey, I got hearing damage, and how are you going to prove it that you've done all these things to protect your employee if you don't have records? So employer, you got to implement these programs and manage them correctly. Okay, I have quite a few companies that started a program and just never kept it up and never sent their employees out for annual audiograms and haven't done regular training. And it's one of those things that falls by the wayside. So the training is required annually, and the training must cover, how the noise impacts your hearing. What do you got to do to prevent further damage, and hearing tests. They need to be done, guys. They need to get done. And then record keeping, and this really what it all comes down to is it didn't happen if you don't have any records. If you keep good records, even for temps, especially for temps, hey, I did training, we provided hearing protection, we did an audiogram, we have a baseline, okay, you're good to go. So we have to do these things in order to be in compliance, to protect our employees, and to prevent further, lawsuits down the road. And believe me, this is one of those areas. It's so easy to sue people over this because we're all losing our hearing, and we can't prove where it happened. But we don't want them to say it happened at your place, that you did everything you could to protect yourself. You protected your employees, you protected yourselves, and you did all the right things that you need to do. And these are the tools to do it. We're here. ROI is here. We want to help you with this. We want to help you identify your risk and mitigate your risk for long-term future, so you can have a company for the next 30, 40, 50 years, and you don't have to worry about employees suing you later on down the road. Okay, so if you do have exposure over 80, 85 decibels, you are in that zone where you need to implement a hearing program. And you will definitely have some risk. You have to set up a hearing conservation program, do sampling, send your employees to a clinic for a baseline, and do it annually, and then annual training is required. Now, this is a small program. It doesn't require a lot of effort, but it does require effort. It's not like, HASCOM and the respirator program and confined space programs and lockout tagout. Those are all pretty in-depth programs, but this is a simple one, but it's the one that can easily be overlooked and can really bite you in 10, 20 years from now, where an employee goes, hey, they never set up a hearing conservation program for us, and I lost my hearing and I can't hear, and it's because of them. How do you prove that? So you really need to take care of your employees. Number one, set up some hearing sampling, get a dosimeter. It's best to hire a third party to do it who knows what they are doing. And of course, ROI can do that. But you don't have to do that. You can get a hearing or a dosimeter. You could rent one, but just see where you're at. Just do a quick, take your phone or get that app and just see where you're at. I wouldn't base everything on that. I would definitely want to definitely get a dosimeter that's been calibrated and it's designed to do time weighted average. You definitely want that. But just go out and take a sound. Take a quick sample, and if it's annoying, if you find yourself having to talk a little louder, you may have some issues. All right, this is a simple program. Again, I've said it a couple of times, but it can be very easily overlooked. Now, just because you're giving out hearing protection doesn't mean you're in compliance. You're probably not. There's a whole bunch of things you need to do to be in compliance. Now, we're here to help. My name is Jesse. I'm the owner of ROI Safety Services. I am based in Southern California. I'm doing a free weekly training. We did hearing conservation, we did lockout tagout, we've done confined space, we've done HASCOM, and my purpose is just to give business owners and managers a good understanding of, hey, if I have a business, it doesn't matter what state you're in, I need to take care of my employees. Most of us don't even know what that means. Just give them some PPE and they'll be fine. That's the bare minimum. Matter of fact, we put too much faith and hope and trust in PPE, and it's ridiculous. PPE that's just a Band-Aid in most situations. So we got to take a close look at our programs. We need to do a site-specific evaluation of every location that we do business in, whether it's a warehouse, a refinery, to a machine shop, to Costco. These everybody that has a business has a risk. I have been getting a lot of complaints, or not complaints, OSHA citation calls from hotels lately, and it's just something that they're targeting hotels. That's just what's happening, and OSHA does target specific industries. A couple of years ago, it was pallet manufacturing. I think they're still hitting them pretty hard. The pallet manufacturing industry is a very high risk industry. So just contact us. Don't say you'll do it next week or the week after. Do it now. Take action. My name is Jesse with ROI Safety Services. Give me a call anytime. I'm available. My number is 714-520-1608. This is a live training. You can watch any of our training anytime. Follow us on YouTube. We have Twitter. We have other various social medias, but we're here to help. I'm committed to helping everybody that contacts us, and that doesn't. You could always watch our free videos and give us some feedback. We are here to help, and I hope in the near future we're going to be doing some interviews. I locked in Cal OSHA, and I hope to get that within the next month, and then maybe do some workers' comp attorney interviews, and we'll see how that goes. But give us your feedback. My name is Jesse. I'm the owner of ROI Safety Services. Have a blessed